Good news, folks. So far, so good. Despite being on and holidaying pretty much solidly since the beta first came out, apart from when I'm recording videos for my other series or streaming, my computer lives, and we've now made it 400 years into the future. If you want to see the previous ones in this series at 100, 200, 300, I'll link to them in a playlist down below and up in the corner of the screen somewhere. But for today, we're looking at the state of football 400 years in the future. I will have to turn my computer off at some point, though. Hello, folks, and welcome back to another look into the future of football via the medium of Football Manager 2021. I'm Kev, and in this video, we look at the state of the world, specifically England, because it's only England that we've got loaded in order to get it holidayed through in time, 400 years in the future. The one difference we've got this time is we now live in a world where I've got the real name fix, so I have to, it's going to be harder for me to find stuff. Premier League, do you have to look for English? Is the English Premier League so irrelevant now that you can't even find it? English, oh no, there you go, the real name fix doesn't work for saves, apparently. Who knew? If you are enjoying this kind of save and you want to see more of this, by the way, please make sure, leave the thumbs up, all that kind of stuff. And if you do happen to be new, because 400 years looks interesting, make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn notifications on. We're going to try and get all the way through to 1,000 years in the future. In the meantime, like I said in the intro, we've got 100, 200 and 300 already loaded up on the channel. So this is the Premier League. Straight away, I'm noticing some unexpected teams in there. We're starting to get things mixed up a little bit now with 400 years in the future. We've got Bromley in there. We've got Dulwich Hamlet in there. We've got Maidstone in there. We've got Welling in there. So 4 current non-league or recently non-league teams in the Premier League 400 years in the future. And possibly most notable, if you've watched the previous couple of videos, Sheffield United, who'd been dominating English football for years, no longer in the Premier League. Sheffield Wednesday are still there, and we'd had a ridiculous long-running record of no club outside London, Sheffield or Manchester having won the Premier League for several hundred years. Looking at the most recent past winners, there's a very good chance that's still going to be the situation. We've also still got the situation where the Premier League is only the 33rd ranked team in the world for league in the world for reputation. So these Premier League teams don't actually get European qualification spots. But England, until very recently anyway, was still competitive in world football. And I think we'll start there. We'll come back and look at the past winners in the Premier League in a second. But have other nations, as the Premier League continues to fall, started to assert themselves on international football a little bit more? Because England really, domestically, is a very minor league these days. But as you can see, during this most recent 100-year period, there have still been a couple of England World Cup wins. The USA in there, I think that's a second win for the USA. The England getting in there, Brazil. It's nice to see some non-European teams finally starting to win it. It took a while in this save to get to that point. Italy, Denmark look like Denmark have had a particularly good time, as have Italy. And England in again, though. Brazil, again, Wales winning back-to-back World Cups in 23-98 and 24-02. Then Argentina getting in on the action. And then Argentina again there. So let's have a look at the records. England still most times winners 400 years into the future with 30 World Cup wins now. I mean, I imagine they've had to rework Three Lions a few times over to accommodate an England that have won the World Cup 30 times, but definitely don't seem to be the dominant force they once were. Are England still ranked number 1 in the world? Or is international football, I was going to speculate, is international football starting to go the way of the domestic football? No, it's not. England are still ranked number 1 in the world, but interesting to see that all of the top players playing outside of England. Because obviously they are, because the English League is a waste of space. I mean, there are some Premier League players in the England squad, but not very many of them. And the best ones are all playing in Germany. That's not Germany, that's France. In France, Spain or Germany. So I guess they're going to be 3 of your top leagues. The major clubs in England now are considered Manchester City, Manchester United, Chelsea, Arsenal, Rotherham and Newcastle. So have either Rotherham or Newcastle managed to win a Premier League and wrestle dominance away from Sheffield, Manchester and London as the only 3 cities that provide Premier League winners? We'll look at that in a second. First, we need to check out the Euros. So European Championship. That's the one that we want. England are the holders of the Euros. If we go on to past winners again, back-to-back holders of the Euros, in fact. In fact, goodness me, England might not be dominating the World Cup anymore, but we won the Euros 5 in a row there, had a year off, then won it again. Italy getting involved a little bit, but then there's England again. Wales, England, Wales, double England. Spain held the record for most time winners for a little while, but it is now England with 29 European Championships and 30 World Cups for a team that for many years now haven't had a competitive domestic league. It shows just how much of a difference it makes to the new gens that are coming through only having England loaded makes, because although the Premier League might not be great, English players clearly are consistently the best in the world. Who's the all-time record goal scorer? Not that we'll know who they are. I'm just interested. Flipping heck. I was just interested what the goal amount was. This guy, Oliver Martin, has 227 goals for England in 203 appearances. That is absolutely insane. Imagine getting over 200 caps for England and scoring up more than a goal a game. I imagine he was quite good at football in his day. Yeah, that's a record that's never getting broken, surely. That's absolute madness. Right, we will now look at the Premier League just to see if anyone has broken the domination. It's not the Premier League. You haven't got the real name fixed because we started this back in the beta. So, English Premier Division, past winners. We're looking for anyone outside of the big three cities. Manchester City look like they've had a lovely time. Manchester United have a period of dominance in there as well. Chelsea, Arsenal. Rotherham won the Premier League. Bromley won the Premier League as well. Wow. That's even more exciting than Rotherham. Bromley are 3 times Premier League winners. All of them in the last, 60, 70 years. So all of them in this period of the save. Bromley have a bright future ahead of them, but Rotherham in there as well with a number of Premier League wins. Rotherham, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Rotherham also 3 Premier League wins for Rotherham as well. All in the 2360s. So the swinging 60s for the people of Rotherham. They had a lovely time. Any other teams who we wouldn't expect to see with Premier League wins? I love the fact that now we're getting a little bit further into the future. 400 years forward now, it is starting to get a little bit weird. I was a little bit disappointed in some of the earlier incarnations of this, that there hadn't been as much change as I hoped there would be. But Bromley winning the league is nuts. Sheffield United, the last time they won the league after their dominance, 23-23. What went wrong at Sheffield United? Because they won the Premier League 38 times and then it just all went wrong. Never won the Champions League. But why, when and how did they get relegated? Let's look at their history in the domestic league. So it looks like we obviously had that period of dominance. Although even then they would always have these little spells where they'd drop down to the Championship but then come back just as strong. They had about a 100-year spell in the Premier League there. But then seemingly out of nowhere, they finished 11th, 13th, 11th, 8th, and then just bottom. And then they were down, and it took them a long time to come back. When they did make it back up, straight back down again, straight back up again. Lasted a couple of years, but never really the force they used to be. Very much current Sheffield United again, relegated back down again. Spent some time in League One recently. Sheffield United, the days of them being the dominant force in English football are gone. It is now nearly 100 years. It's 96 years since Sheffield United last won the league. Like 2-3 generations of the people of Sheffield don't even remember it now. It's just a fairy tale from hundreds of years ago. Remember when Sheffield United dominated England? Not so much anymore. Wow. We're just going to jump down through the leagues as well and just see if we can find any unusual clubs in unusual positions, as we always do. So Premier League is there. If we drop down to the Championship, we're looking for big teams that shouldn't be down this low or little teams that shouldn't be this high. That's the goal in every one of these leagues. So Liverpool still hovering around in the Championship. They've been there a little while now. Tottenham also down in the Championship as well with Watford and Wolves. We've got Villa down in League One. We've got Ipswich, Fulham, Leeds, Leicester down in League One. Slough and South Shields up into League One. Sunderland continuing their ridiculous roller coaster over the course of this save. And if you've not been following the Sunderland story, do you think their most recent Amazon Prime documentary was a good one? Imagine the one they're making in 400 years, because this is a Sunderland team that took an age to get back to the Premier League. But then when they did, they ended up Champions League winners, but then got relegated all the way down into the National League North. And that's where we left them at the end of 300 years in the future. They had like 20, 30 years lurking around in the National League North. But it looks like they have slowly but surely started to recover again, spending a little bit of time in the Championship, now firmly established it as a mid-table League One team. Have Sunderland got another return to the Premier League in their future and maybe another Champions League win? It would be ridiculous if they did, but, you know, they're a former Champions League winner. They're going to be considered a big team at whatever level they end up playing at, always. Have we seen any sign of Newcastle yet, by the way? People always ask for Newcastle and Everton. I think they're just teams that people don't notice. There you go. They're both in the Premier League. But for some reason, people always say, where's Everton? Where's Newcastle? I don't mention them because they're still just mid-table teams in the Premier League. They don't really do anything. Down into League 2 now, where we've got Crystal Palace down here. Peterborough still lurking down in the lower leagues is very sad as well. And then down into the National League. I'd love to see some former Premier League teams down here, but although we've had several non-league teams make it to the Premier League, Bromley even winning the league, it doesn't look like we've got any major teams that have fallen down to this kind of level. Don't know who Cinderford are. I'm impressed to see them in there. Kettering, of course, I'm now managing in Non-League to Legend. If you've not checked that series out yet, you really should. They're still in the National League North, which doesn't bode well for me in that save. National League South. Come on, we just want one big team. We're not going to get it. Never mind, eh? Champions League winners now. Champions League. Won't be called the Champions League because we don't have the fix. So, current holders Bayern Munich. Have we got any weird previous winners? Let's have a little look. So, certainly, I mean, we've got Greek teams in here, Turkish teams, multiple Turkish teams. Malmo have won the Champions League. This is much more of a mix. Aberdeen, are Aberdeen still dominating Scotland the way they were before? Now 337 Scottish Premierships for Aberdeen. Is it like 300 in a row now? Is that, I mean, are they still the own? Oh no, that's the Scottish Cup, Scottish Premiership. Hold on. It is still just, I mean, Aberdeen have now won the Scottish Premiership. We just got to go. Or, what's that? 320 consecutive years? 320 in a row. Eat that, Rangers and Celtic. 320 in a row for Aberdeen. My word. And they've picked up a couple of Champions Leagues in there as well. Who else have we got that we wouldn't expect to see? Who are HJK? A Finnish team. Nice. Champions League winners. Love the fact that the Champions League actually looks interesting 400 years in the future. It's not the same old teams over and over again. You've got a real mix of teams and countries that those teams are from. You've got 3 in a row from Paris Saint-Germain there, but it's so rare to even get 2 in a row. It really stands out. Real Madrid with 3 in a row there as well. Just as I'm saying, it's not the same old teams. Real Madrid turn it with 3 in a row. And presumably, yeah, they are still the all-time record holders, but only 47 wins out of what would now be, a 460-year history of the Champions League as a tournament. Shows that it really is anybody's tournament. They win it like 10% of the time, and everyone else fights over the rest of them. And if we look into the Europa League as well, people always say, Kev, where's the Europa Conference League? Nobody cares where that is. That's why we don't bother looking at it. And this is the Europa League, which Olympiacos seem to be enjoying. And there's a lot of teams here that I've also noticed in the Champions League. So obviously Linfield in there winning the Europa League. That must be the greatest honour in it. They've won it twice, 2 Europa Leagues for Linfield and 3-time Conference League winners. Linfield a Northern Irish team have won a European competition more recently than an English team. The rest of Britain are just really putting England to shame. The English Premier League is just a disaster. I don't even know how you'd say that. An Icelandic team winning the Europa League. I love this. This is just awesome fun. So who's the all-time records here? FC Copenhagen have won the Europa League more times than anyone else in the history of the competition. They're 9-time Champions League winners. And where's the Europa League? 19-time Europa League winners, 9-time Conference League winners, 363-time Danish League winners. FC Copenhagen, they're enjoying this version of the future. And I think that brings us to the end of another one of these videos. We've had another fun little look around. Oh, I tell you what, the one thing we do want to look at. We're just going to, once again, have a look at transfers, because we had all those weird transfers that went to Korea, I think it was, in the 300 years in the future thing. So if we just look at world, I forget how we did it last time. You go to world transfers. So we want the biggest transfers in world football, and we just want something, we want to see something weird. That's what we're looking for here. So big transfers to teams you'd expect them to go to, really. Bromley with the world transfer. Oh, it's not a world transfer record. These are all this season. So let's skip back a few seasons and see if there's anything odd going on. No Korean teams on here this time, it seems, which is a little, to be honest, I'm a little bit sad about it. I enjoyed the weirdness of it last time. But Bromley are showing up as one of the big spenders time and time again. They've obviously got money to burn. There's some big transfer fees. Imagine Slavia Prague spending £135 million on a player. Have you ever played a game of Football Manager and them not be a selling club? Bromley spending £117 million on a player from Liverpool. I love it. I just love it. I could spend all day going through these databases, which is why I have to try and limit the length of the videos to under 20 minutes so that people actually sit and watch them. So we will wrap that up there. I will be back as soon as I can be, computer life permitting, with 500 years in the future. And like I say, we're going to try and keep going all the way to 1,000 years in the future. It is all reliant on the computer itself, not just giving up on me. And obviously I can only be holidaying when I'm not streaming or playing other saves for videos and that kind of thing. So I do it when I can. Hopefully within the next week or so, we'll get to 500 years in the future, but it is starting to take its time now. Now the save file is getting bigger and bigger, but hopefully you have enjoyed that video. If you have, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos, and thank you very much for watching.